Hello everybody. Welcome to a slightly bit different video. Today I am doing an overview of a draft league I've not recorded any videos for and I haven't, posted much about, called the ODL, the Olympic Draft League. It's a draft league I took part in the past few months and I'll spoil it now, I won it. The ODL was split into a bronze, silver and gold division, and me and a couple mates signed up to the tournament as a whole. We got split among different leagues and I got put into the gold division due to my past experience, and I ended up winning it. And in the process of winning it, I created my favorite team I've ever used in Pokemon Draft ever, actually. I freaking love this team. So today's video I'm gonna go through kind of my drafting philosophy as a whole and how when I was initially creating my draft and my team, the first few steps and kind of like roles I wanted to fill and what I was looking at for my team. And then after that I'll go kind of a layer deeper about like not only roles like Mons filled and tick boxes out ticked by picking them up, but also a little bit some synergies kind of that you'd have to play with the team a bit or just kind of think about it a bit further to kind of realize. I have some VODs to prove and show kind of some of these concepts off maybe. And I'll talk about my season as a whole in the ODL and the ODL as a whole, kind of how I viewed some matchups, what matchups I didn't liked a bit more, how I think I managed to win it and stuff like that. So a little bit different to what I've done so far, but that's fine by me. Yeah, I just want to do whatever. So let me first pull up the matchup, not the matchup, my team. This is the draft. I didn't make any trades during the season. This is what I initially drafted and this is what I stuck with, and this is a team that I absolutely fell in love with. My team was Palafin is the main guy I drafted, the first guy I drafted, and then after that Darkrai was actually a round 7 pick. But my team in draft order was Palafin, Zapdos, Ogerpon Cornerstone, Kommo-o, Tinkaton, Gligar, then it was Darkrai, and then to round off the team was Delphox, Muk Electrode. To explain the initial draft philosophies is, and some context about kind of ODL as a whole. This is the ODL board. ODL, we have some mons that are sometimes banned, sometimes allowed. Dragapult, Chien-Power, kind of sometimes banned. So this is a kind of unusual thing about this board, I guess. And in general, obviously, some pricing is always different from board to board. Personally, some people would see a 19-point Terra legal T to be like, a war crime, especially in the same tier as Mega Gallade, and then which I think personally should go a bit lower, but that's not what we're here to discuss. We're here to give a bit more context about the board and the ODL. So I'll just quickly scroll through this. Nobody cares about lower tiers that much, but this is kind of what the board looks like. Some special rules to take account for in the ODL is that if your mon is 15 points or above... Alright, we'll go this way. You are allowed 2 Terra Captains. One of your Terra Captains has to be stab attacks only, so you can only Terra Fire or Terra Fighting if you're a Blaziken. You can only Terra Psychic if you're a Deoxys, only Terra Ice Dragon if you're a Baxcalibur. Like, if you have 15 points or more, you can dedicate one of those mons to being a stab Terra Captain. And if your mon is 14 points or less, you are allowed to completely free Terra Preview the mon. So, on my team I had Kommo-o, which is somewhere in this point tier. I'm blind. You can definitely see it already. 14. Where is Kommo-o? There it is. Picked. Kommo-o is there. Obviously, you could pick up a Mandibuzz at 14 points and free Terra it, but you're probably not likely to because you're only allowed 1 free Terra Captain. So, that's a bit of context about the board. So, some very important benchmarks are obviously the top, because you obviously want mons from the top, you want good mons to do well with usually. And then, kind of mons around the 15-14 tier, because there are some mons which are, I would say, a little overinflated, because you just didn't want it to drop to be Terra legal. So like, I don't know, Blacephalon could be 15. Gengar, for example, I don't think would be a 15-pointer. Naturally. Same with kind of T-Tar. T-Tar's usually a 13-pointer, something like that. But there are definitely some mons which are kind of taxed a bit to avoid Terra. And that means for your free Terra Captain, you're probably looking in, 12, 13, or ideally the 14-point tier, where you want your free Terra Captain to be kind of something big, strong, oppressive, whatever your team kind of needs. So that's some context about the board and about the league as a whole. And let's go back to the team I made. Here we go. So, my round 1 was Palafin, a 19-pointer, yeah. So not tippy top because I was like around 6, 7 picks, something like that. Palafin even wasn't guaranteed for me, but kind of I saw the way things were going. I saw GMV's top 3 obviously get sniped pretty quickly. I saw some other mons got taken pretty quickly, and Palafin was still remaining. And that's just a mon I've never really used before, so I was very happy to go with Palafin. And as a round 1 Palafin, I instantly kind of mentally decided in that moment that I want Zapdos as my round 2. This is kind of like a layer 1 synergy. Palafin is a very strong physical water type. Zapdos being an electric flying type special attacker, so there's obviously immediately kind of a top tier synergy of one good special attacker, one good physical attacker. Palafin being a water type really appreciates grass types and water types being busted for it to resist for its attacks. Zapdos with obviously can blow up water types with electric moves, blow up grass types with hurricane and flying moves. So there's obviously some kind of obvious synergy there. There's a synergy of 0 to hero. Palafin needs to get into its hero form, it needs to swap out of the battle, and Zapdos can often in draft is very, very competent at being just a hit taker. It's got Zapdos' stats, so biggest stat is special attack, but if you invest into it HP and defense, or even special defense, especially the combination of static as its ability, it can take physical hits very well, and it can kind of deter specifically physical hits, because those are often the ones making contact. But it can kind of deter attacking, and it can deter hit taking. It can take hits very well, which is very good for Palafin, who often either leads the battle in Baby or at some point needs to hit the field as Baby form and then swap out to hit hero form. And having not only a bulky mon that can take those hits very well and deal with the mon, so if it's a grass or water type it can deal with its stabs, but also a mon that can, pivot very easily to get Palafin in and out on the field is already within just 2 picks alone, it's some very good synergy, and that's something I think you kind of want from your early picks. And your picks as a whole is, very obvious, very good synergy. But my I was so very happy with my 2 top tiers being Palafin and Zapdos. And after that, I started drafting a bit lower. I drafted Oakmon Cornerstone, and I decided making that my Stab Terra Captain, because Palafin is Terra Band. Otherwise, I would have made that Stab Terra Water. Zapdos doesn't get a lot out of Terra at all, because it likes being both flying electric type. You don't really want to shed your electric typing because it makes you neutral to a thing. It makes you neutral to electric, and obviously, unless it's 1000 arrows or gravity or whatever, you never really want to shed your electric typing in that case. So Zapdos doesn't get much out of Stab Terra. So I got Oakmon Cornerstone as another. How expensive was it? It was like 16 or something like that, I think. Yeah. Oakmon Cornerstone to kind of round off my top 3. And another one which I think worked very well, Palafin. It can bust for waters for Palafin. Palafin doesn't like taking on with its grass type moves. It can bust quite a lot of types actually with its very oppressive type, offensive type of rock grass. Having a very spammable rock move is just so good. The grass moves were also very appreciative. Another not another, just a knockoff user on the team, which is very good for when I pick up hazards later down the line. Palafin is very confident with being a, like, you know, banded jet punch, scarf wave crash kind of win condition in the end game, and getting hazards up earlier and knocking off boots to kind of enable that end game is something I was already kind of thinking about at this stage, as Ogerpon gets both knockoff and spikes. Now, some people would consider a spikes Ogerpon blasphemy. You know who you are, but I brought Spikes Ogerpon a few times. It's pretty good. I think I brought Sword Sense more just because of the way my team played and the matchups I had. But Spikes Ogerpon, obviously, I don't need to explain it. It's a good mon. Ogerpon Cornerstone specifically was sturdy, quite good at it. And in this format, as you can see, my Stab Terror Captain being Como-O, I didn't want a... my Free Terror Captain being Como-O, I didn't want a Stab Terror Captain which kind of relies on it. Something like Iron Bundle really appreciates Stab Terror. Something like Enamorous really appreciates it for, you know, that flying stab, that reliable flying stab, bundle for a reliable water stab, or just, you know, boosting things. I don't know, Taunty, if I picked it up, I probably would have been wanting to Terraton most weeks to get even bigger damage boost on its Hurricanes, or just getting, again, another reliable flying stab. There are definitely like mons up here which really appreciate being the Stab Terror Captain and getting donated for Terra every week. But with my next pick being Como-O, I wanted a Stab Terror Captain which didn't really want to hoard the Terra, but still, you know, sometimes appreciated it. It was a very situational Terra, basically, is what I'm trying to say here. Using it for the damage boost, not really using it for the defense boost all that often, because being a mono rock type defensively ain't great. And it was situational, and I did use it a few times, but it was mostly situational because my next pick, Como-O, was such a good Terra Captain. If you look at the board in the 14-point tier, I think my standouts are Archie. Archie as just, you know, especially in a rain team would be fucking insane. But in general, with its stats, with its stamina, with Electro Shot, Acaralodon is just an insane Terra Captain. I think the same about Zarude, a very... lots of people, like... It's a kind of an error of the system where Zarude, you would not be... you would not pick it up for 14 points without Terra, basically. Usually. Yeah, it's why I think, you know, something like a Terra tax system is usually a little bit better, but... whatever. Terra Zarude is obviously... very high regard in the draft community. Lots of people base entire teams around Terra Zarude, so this being here is a very obvious pickup. And I don't think it was free by the time it got to me, but I kind of wasn't interested in it anyways because I always wanted Como-O. I spread some insane agenda before the season to a legalized Terra Como-O because it was 15 points initially, and nobody was ever picking it up. So I asked for it to go down to 14, and then I had to back it up. I had to pick it up. But yeah, to give some more context, Zarude is up here, down here, very good. Archie, I think, is a very good Terra Captain. Offensively, I also think Salamence is an insane Terra Captain. Dragonlance, base 100 speed. Moxie, Intimidate if you want it more defensively. It can do a lot. If you're really committed to defense, Skeledirge is very good Terra Cap. So is Goodra, Hisui. And if you start dropping down, you'll see some other, like Thunderous Fury and Volcanic. You'll see some other good Terra Caps. But in this tier, the most interesting one for me was Como-O. Because, first of all, I think the mon is sick. Second of all, it's just so flexible. If you look at its abilities, all three are very defense-oriented. Bulletproof, soundproof, overcoat, all immunities to, you know, powders or certain types of moves, which is very cool to have on in draft when, I don't know, you see an Amoonguss, for example, and your team is really weak to Amoonguss, and you're like, damn, Amoonguss can come in on Palafin for free. In this world, I don't have a Zapdos, and I can't just click Hurricane on it, and I'm like, damn, this Amoonguss is gonna give me troubles. Overcoat Como, easy. I'm like, damn, Spectria looks strong into me. bulletproof, and suddenly can't spam Shadow Ball, and it needs to think like a step a little further. Soundproof, similar thing. I was like, yeah, we know these abilities are good. But Kumo's typing usually lets it down, which is why it's a great Terra Captain. And its stat spread is what I want to talk about here, because look how flexible this mon is. It's basically like just a mythical with base 100s, but I prefer it because it can be it's naturally so defensive, which leans very well into it doing setup very well, because it gets the opportunities to click these stat boosts. But also it means in drafts specifically with free Terra and big defensive stats, it can just kind of check whatever you need it to check or want it to check if you ever need that. Offensively, it has an insane amount of just setup options. Autonomize for, that's not how you spell it. That's also not how you spell it. Autonomize. Base 100s, special attack, base 110 attack. 103, 105 special defense. It's like, it's such a flexible mon. So I think with Terra Legal, this mon is absolutely insane. I loved it. I don't think it's like the most insane broken thing ever, but I think it's very strong. Hopefully my recording software didn't pick up a random notification, you know, or whatever. It gets Terra Blast because it's in Gen 9. It already gets a lot of coverage anyways, because it's just a pseudo legendary dragon, and they're all given like insane coverage. Boom Burst, Flamethrower, actually gets Aura Sphere as a special fighting move if it needs that. Like, it just gets a lot. This one is absolutely insane. One of my MVPs. Come away from this season loving Kumo even more. This one's insane. So at this point I have Palafin, Zapdos, Kumo, and Ogerpon Cornerstone. So I have Rocks on Kumo and Spikes on Ogerpon. Neither of them love doing so, especially in the context of my team, but like not bad at it. But I get a vision for my team at this point. I'm starting to see what I have. Cornerstone's very good offensively, but it kind of struggles breaking steel types. Palafin gets close combat, and with 160 attack, even if it's not stab, it's still a very, very strong close combat. Kumo obviously gets a lot of fighting coverage. But so there's a basic level of types kind of working already. But I don't have a fairy switch in. I don't have a steel type yet, and I'm kind of getting. I don't really have a defensive backbone. Kumo can obviously be very defensive. So can Zapdos, but neither of them want to do it every single week. Zapdos kind of can basically, but Kumo, especially on my team, would love to click Dragon Dance, would love to click Clangorous Soul and use that Terra to its full ability. So I plan out to start picking up defensive pieces, and Tinkerton was on my watch list because I think this mon was insane value for Rocks, T-Wave, Encore, Steel Fairy typing, very specially defensive. Just like such a good one. So I get Tinkerton on my radar, but then I have to start planning for... Oh, sorry. I need to start playing for my ground type, because if I have a Palafin on my team, you know, I don't want to run no ground types, because people want to bring their electrics into me. Obviously, Zapdos is only neutral, it doesn't even resist. Grass types I can handle pretty decently with Zapdos. But yeah, electric specifically a problem. But I look at the board and I see it's round 4. Everybody's, you know, picked up their top tiers. Oop, that is me. Everybody's picking up their top tiers by now. Gold. There we go. There are some visions for teams. There's Urshifu, Glowking. There's, you know, so this person wants to click buttons all the time. This person also wants to click buttons and have a good defensive backbone. Whatever. There's electric terrain team building. People have splashed out their coins and their points already. A rain team has formed, which actually during the drafting process, Jevil messaged me asking me if I was looking for Pelipper, because I picked up Palafin round 1, Zapdos round 2, and he was like, yo, is that a rain team? Nah, we don't mess with weather here. But yeah, everybody spent a lot of points, has already got very expensive mons round 1. And therefore, or round 2 or whatever, and therefore, this Darkrai that was still on the board, not picked up, it kind of caught my eye. I'm looking at my team. Physical attacker, special attacker, but will often be defensive. Physical attacker, and a setup guy, but its setup is better on the physical side. It has a bigger physical attack. Its coverage is a bit better physically, debatably. But you know, mixed attacker basically, and Tinkaton, and eventually something I settled on with Gligar, or like, in general, my ground type in this slot, I hadn't settled Gligar yet, but my ground type was not really going to be a great special attacker, really. I'm not, Landorus was not on my radar. But Darkrai was such a perfect fit on this team, I thought. Because my speed tiers are, at this point, capping out our Ugbon Cornerstone. And then it's a jump down to Palafin. And then it's a jump down to, like, Kommo-o. And I thought, a 125 speed tier on this team? Yep. Yes, please. I have so many base 100s. I'm just below base 100. I'm just above, kind of. But 125 was so perfect. Having just a very strong and oppressive special attacker in general fit this team so well because they're so physically focused up to this point. Having just... Darkrai's not like a situational special attacker. It's a mon you can bring every single week and it can be good because its speed is so good, its coverage is so good, its utility is insane. If it's like, if you ever have a bad Darkrai matchup, I'm not sure if that ever exists, but if you ever do, you can just run Hypnosis, and you've already found a utility. You can just run Willow. You can run all 4 status moves if you really, really struggled to make a Darkrai work one week. Like, this mon can guarantee value every week. And spoilers, this is the only mon I brought every single week. Palafin didn't come every week. Palafin missed out 1 week. Kommo-o also missed out 1 week. Cornerstone, I think, also did, and Zapdos did, like, literally 1 or 2 weeks each, something like that. Darkrai came every single week. And I think that is why it fit on my team so well, and part of the reason I loved my team so much is I could focus around and play around with, you know, my Palafin, my Kommo-o, my Cornerstone. I could play around with these mons which I thought had a bit of wiggle room and synergy on the team, just because I had good old Reliable in the back, and good old Reliable was Darkrai. This one can be choiced, scarfed, specs if you ever want, if you need it. It can be boots, it can be lefties with nasty plot, it can be resist berry to catch something off guard, expert belt. Like, I can just go on forever about Darkrai, but I think a very big part about this team that I loved it is that I had 2 very strong top tiers now. Big strong physical attacker with priority, just naturally fast, and also strong special attacker with just unlimited utility. And just good old Reliable, basically. And it just let me show, not only could I be creative with the Darkrai itself and its move pool, but because I had Darkrai, I could be much more creative with the rest of my team. Because my best special attacker wasn't, you know, Zapdos, which has electric, flying, and like Heat Wave. And Extra Sensory is not real good. Like, it has free moves it can really use offensively very well. I don't know, I later picked up Delphox. It has very good Flying Stab. Flying? Fire Stab, Psychic. And then it gets like Scorching Sun. And like, you know what I mean. You get what I mean by this point, hopefully. So I kind of pivoted my entire plans around getting this Darkrai, because this Gligar was, it was a Tinglu on some versions of my team. It was like a Mudsdale. It was something a little bit more expensive than Gligar. And in general, this Delphox was then like a Rotom Heat. I had a kind of much more rounded end to my team initially, but when I saw Darkrai was free, pivoted my entire plans around getting Tinkaton and Gligar, because I wanted to kind of solidify my defensive pieces, and I thought Tinkaton was the perfect special wall, could bring rocks every week, and I thought Gligar was an insanely good physical wall, also rounded off my hazards much more. And if I picked up these 2, I got a very reliable Stealth Rocker in Tinkaton and a reliable Spiker in Gligar, and then for more situational matchups I had Spikes on Ogerpon and Rocks on Kommo-o. So I was very happy kind of with those being my hazard setters. So that kind of made me very happy. And once I saw this Gligar kind of made the whole team click together. Once I saw I could get basically everything I wanted from this slot in the form of pivoting. And another form of pivoting and hit taking like Zapdos for Palafin. All 3 hazards, T-Spikes, Rocks and Spikes. And just a lot more of a utility Gligar gets, Fast Taunt, stuff like that. It's not a Gliscor obviously, it's not a Tinglu, it's not an insane mon that people need to overly prep for. But it kind of filled a role on my team. It stopped people from just brainlessly clicking electric moves into my team. It stopped people from just clicking Volt Switch forever. And Gligar was kind of just a perfect fit for this team. And once I picked up Tinkaton and Gligar, I just fired off to Darkrai. Because there was actually somebody doing a reverse draft. Otherwise, I would have left Darkrai for literally last. But at this point, the reverse draft was, you know, at Swampert or something like that, or Raikou. And I thought they might start looking at top tiers soon, so I wanted that Darkrai. But at this point, I've got my 7, basically. I've got Palafin, Darkrai, Zapdos, Ogerpon, Cornerstone, Como, Tinkaton, and Gligar. I couldn't... These were the 7 mons, and 6 of these mons were basically going to come every single week. And the last 3 were just more situational, kind of utility, team builder pressure type of mons, and so I'm not going to talk about it much, but Muk was just a very solid grounded poison, just kind of so people don't look at my team and be like, yeah, I'm not going to shit out T-Spikes, nothing you're going to do about it. Muk was just kind of there to deter people just brainlessly bringing toxic spikes into my team, and to also, it's got some, it can really come. It's got very strong, it's got very good special defense. It's got sticky hold, so it can absorb knockoffs very well. It's got poison touch if it wants to just take your items and poison you at the same time with knockoff of its own. Muk is just a very solid, like, people know Muk is can be quite valuable. Electrode just came as a fast screen setup, because if you look at my team, Palafin has Bulk Up, Darkrai has a Nasty Plot, Ogerpon has Swords Dance, Como has unlimited setup. A lot of my top mons have the setup, so a very fast, reliable, consistent screen setter, especially a cheap one for like a point or 2, was very appreciated. I do have screens on like Tinkaton, Zapdos, Delphox, I'm sure like Darkrai, I'm sure like I have other monster screens. But if I ever wanted to bring a dedicated screens team, and you know, Zapdos is very likely to be tasked with something else, it's very likely to be a hit taker or something like an offensive mon. Tinkaton also likely to be quite contested for its move slots with knockoff, rocks, something like that. I could bring Electrode, and it's speed tier, a very nice speed tier, higher than Darkrai's, but nobody's really going to respect it because it's Electrode. And finally, I got Delphox just because my team didn't have a fire type yet. If I show you the matchup chart my team has, you will see that it's pretty ice weak. 2 of these are fake because both Cornerstone and Como can tear out of that ice weakness, but Gligar, you know, that quad weakness ain't going anywhere. This is holding Eviolite, it can't even hold Yachi really if I want to get the most out of it. Zapdos, pretty similar, usually in Boots jail. So having a, even if it's not an insanely good and, you know, bulky hit taker, having an ice resist kind of helped a bit, and offensively, Delphox is pretty solid, you know. It's got 114 special attack, pretty respectable. 104 speed, also pretty respectable. Gets to jumps on base 100s. So it wasn't bad. Kind of a ground week though, so it was just kind of there because I couldn't think of a better, I couldn't find a better mon on the board, truly. And I'm going to be real, I kept looking at the board, trying to find a better mon than that Delphox, or like I could combine Delphox and Electrode into another good mon or something. But I never did, so it's whatever. Delphox was, it did come, all of these mons came at least once. It did come and it filled a very good, a very respectable niche on the team. So that leaves a team. Yeah, this is my type chart. It's not very bad. A bit ice weak, but I went through that 2 of these can Terra out of that ice weeks. Ground neutral, but a lot of the weeks are actually my low tiers who are not really going to be coming that often, so not too bad. Very, very respectable. I can Terra out of this very weakness actually, so no insanely free clicks into my team. Hazard setting, as I described earlier, I have some very reliable ones, and I have some more situational ones, so good. Hazard removal wasn't great, but like Zapdos and Gligar, Zapdos especially is one of those ones that if I need it to defog, it can. I'm not forcing myself to like bring some shitty little birds to defog. I'm bringing one I'm bringing every week anyways, so you can. It's not horrific, and my team doesn't mind boots. Like I would have loved a good spinner, but we're in Gen 9, man. None of those exist. Especially if you don't pick it up early. Healing wise, nobody cares. I care a bit. Wish Delphox never came, I'll be real. Momentum wise is something I was kind of looking at quite a bit during my building, and it's something I'm very proud of. Zapdos obviously a very key defensive piece. Ogerpon Cornerstone can use its offensive pressure to kind of generate momentum and just U-turn and get in Palafin or something else. Palafin itself with flip turn. And Gligar, another solid defensive piece that can U-turn around. So pretty solid momentum. Very good knockoff. Now, to be fair, my top tier Dark type is a special attacker, but I did bring knockoff once on it to deal with a Hooper Unbound due to its, lower defense and removing that AV. But I have some mods which can click knockoff very solidly. Gligar loves clicking it, gets lots of opportunities too. Ogerpon can click it very well. Tinkaton does. So respectable status wise. So much T-Wave. You love it. Some very good Will-O-Whispers. Hypnosis on Darkrai as well. I think Hypnosis on Delphox. Actually, I didn't bring it, but I think it does. Priority wise, not much to take note of apart from Palafin Jet Punch, Darkrai Sucker Punch, and Kommo Vacuum Wave. And so much disruption. I am shocked that I'm not sure how many of you knew this. This is just a little bit of a thing. I'm shocked Gligar doesn't get Whirlwind. I thought Gligar got Whirlwind. I'll just be real. Maybe it makes sense it doesn't. Maybe they didn't want the thing that shits out hazards to also then pivot you out. But it just kind of surprised me learning that. But anyways, this is a team I loved. I've already talked about some on the surface. It has lots of very good synergies. Palafin with all of his pivoting in the back is great because it can activate Hero Form very easily. Darkrai I talked about for quite a bit, how it's just good or reliable. I have lots of different setup. Spikers, good. But it goes a level deeper kind of, and this is something I only kind of realized after using the team for a bit. It's smaller stuff like Tinkaton, my team relied on Tinkaton a lot for special defense, unless I was willing to commit like an Assault Vest somewhere on the team or Kommo to Terra defensively. Tinkaton was kind of the main special defense on the team. I brought Muck once, I'll be real. But Tinkaton defensive, and its type is just great. So to hit Tinkaton offensively, you need to be you need ground or fire coverage, and not lots of them do. Not lots of special attackers get those types actually. Unless you get Flamethrower, you don't often get Earth Power. Mystical Fire is pretty rare, so I can kind of plan around it pretty well. But then you look at it, it's like, what are the good Terra captains? Like, Thunderous Fury, that's a strong special attacker. Zarude isn't a special attacker, but it's, pretty offensive. Archaeolodon. There's some very strong Hooper Unbound, some very strong special attacking Terra legal captains down there. Who could go Terra Fly or Terra Ground to hit the Tinkaton. But after a few weeks I realized people weren't doing that. There was a Superior I played, Mono Grass type, gets Dragon coverage, it gets nothing to hit Tinkaton. It could have gone Terra Ground or Fire so easily to hit Tink, but I realized that the rest of my team really punishes those types very well. Obviously Palafin, with it just all of its water moves can blow up a fire or a ground type. If you're slower than Oakham Cornerstone, if you're slower than 110, also get blown up. So I realised that, and Tinkerton is so naturally fast that it can often get its utility off anyways. So if I could use Tinkerton pretty well to swap into special attackers, throw out rocks or T-Wave or knockoff or whatever, and it could do that pretty reliably. And if they did bring a Terror to hit Tinkerton, they got revenged and opened themselves up so much to Palafin or Cornerstone. So especially in the case of like that Superior I played, they went Terra Stellar just to have something more offensive into my team and try maybe if they chip down the Tinkerton, just blow past it and set up past it, but like that wasn't gonna happen. The Thunderous, it went Terra Ice and Terra Water in the rematch. Like nobody was bringing these offensive terrors to break Tinkerton because of the threat of the rest of my team, which meant that my Tinkerton stayed alive and did its job. That was perfect for me. It just meant one less thing I had to think about. Palafin was just so great to play with, but all of these ones were, because Palafin just simplified the matchup so well, because if they didn't have a water, not even a resist, if they didn't have a water immunity, I could just build around Palafin. If they did have a water immunity, first of all, Palafin can kind of play around that. It can just go bulky subs, bulk up, leftovers, Drain Punch to set up on those. It gets coverage, it gets like Grass Knot for the quad, for the, Quagsires and the Gastrodons of the world. It just gets a 160 base attack, Banded Adamant, close combat if you really want it, and can just blow past the immunity anyways. Like, Palafin can beat those immunities, but if it can't, I have 6 other mons on the team. Darkrai, Zapdos, all of these mons can beat him very easily. My win cons were so solid because Oakmon could also set up once Sword Stance with your Sturdy and your offensive typing. It can just end the game. Come one Dragon Dance can also just end the game, or a Clangor Soul. Clangor Soul? Is that the setup move, or is that the... Yeah, Clangor Soul is the setup move. Clanging Scales, that's the offensive one. I have so many different ways of winning and on this team with so much different setup, and I have Spike Wincons if I want. I just have straight Wall Breakers if I want. Like, this team kind of played itself. I'll be real. I'll click through a lot of these teams, and you'll see that my teams all look very similar every week. Because I just brought top 7. I wasn't playing around with my bad ones every now and then. This was the last week of regular season, so Electrode came. But Electrode also got free Reflects off, because there's not a single special attacker on this team. A Taunt and an Explosion, like the value we got was still great, and I won the game. You'll see that. You'll see that I have a Palafin at plus. You'll see I have a Palafin at like +3, and the guy forfeit because I have a Palafin at +3 behind sub. What else? So that was like a Wincon with Palafin bulk up, but I have But this week I win with just Scarf Banded. Scarf Banded? God, I wish. Scarf Wave Crash. It may as well be banded off of that, where I just. And I just Wave Crash. Wave Crash. The Wincons are like so defined where. This team is perfect at playing the mid-length game. Turn 40 here. Turn 20 here just because I got my DD early in one, but turn 30, this one goes 25, 44, 30, 34, 40-ish. Like, it goes on. This team is so perfect at going to those turn 20, 30, 40 turns, getting a hazard up somewhat early, start getting the chip up. This isn't a team built to last. This isn't a stall team. You saw my healing. My healing is dog shit. This team is built Tinkerton has no reliable recovery. Gligar does, but Gligar's quite exploitable. I'm actually going to finish what I was starting to say, which is this team isn't built to like last an insane amount. It's built to do its jobs. Like Tinkerton just going to come in, take the hit, get rocks up, come in, take a hit, T-wave something, and at that point, Palafin is like already looking to win the game, or Darkrai. If he's Darkrai is looking to win a game. All of my top threats are so insanely impressive that if I'm just like play solidly for the first half of the game, I've opened up the game for somebody. If I'm playing around Banded Jet Punch endgame, I can probably get there pretty easily. Like, my team just enables this mid-length game and applies so much pressure where my opponent can't just stall, unless they've drafted insane Giga Stall, and even then I'm sure I could break them. This isn't like a passive team by any means, but it has the longevity and it has the tools to get me to my win con and to get me to turn 40 and get that Palafin Jet Punch. It's just a team I love. I love priority. Palafin's insane. Jet Punch is just not a fair button off of 160 stab. I'm just rambling at this point because I love this team so much. It's just how I want to play the game. It's actually perfect for just, you come in with a solid game plan and it kind of rewards you for having a solid game plan and playing well. The team also has quite a bit of luck, not luck to like function, but luck to reward you. Like Zapdos static. Zapdos is a good mon. Zapdos is, I would have paid, like, it's not that expensive because of static. It's that expensive because of its stats and its a few other things it can do. Static definitely affects it, but like, this is what I mean. Like, static is just kind of a bonus that if the game does last a little bit longer, it could eventually kick in effect. Stuff like, do I have anything else? Like, I think it is mainly just, I have Tinkerton, which can pickpocket if a game goes a bit longer, and if I get lucky and take the right item off of something, that's incredible. But also I can shit out T-Wave, Darkrai can shit out Hazards and T-Wave. I think mainly Zapdos actually, if I'm talking about this. This team doesn't have that much luck. Oh, no, what am I talking about? Darkrai's main stab move is like a flinching move. This team, Zapdos and Darkrai alone kind of force so much not force so much bullshit, but can have so much bullshit that if any single one of them ever gets lucky and gets a single static or gets a single flinch, those can just be game ending. And because I'm bringing them every week, they're going to eventually happen, and my opponent eventually has to click the physical move and risk static, or they have to keep something in on Darkrai and risk the flinch because it's so fast. Like, and none of these two mons don't rely on that. Is kind of what I'm trying to say. Is that the luck is in my favor. I've not got anything on my team, which is, you know, I don't have Ton, which, you know, its main and only offensive stab button is Hurricane or Bleak Wind. It's forced to click 70-80% accurate moves every week, basically. Unless you're Terra, and then it's a whole different story. But like, yeah, let's just pretend we're a Tornadus and we're trying to be offensive one week. You are forced to click Hurricane, and you are forced to like risk missing and you are opening yourself to be unlucky. And you could be lucky by getting the confusion and whatnot, but you've mainly opened yourself up to be unlucky. Whereas with this team, with Static and Dark Pulse, I've opened myself up to be lucky and not that unlucky. Zapdos obviously can click Hurricane, but it doesn't have to. It can just U-turn into something else. Like, if I'm clicking Hurricane, it's because it's what I want to. It's just what I want to do. I just want to feel lucky. I just want to feel something. But that's just like another bonus on the team, basically. I'm trying to see if there's... How many games do you see Hazards of? How reliable is this team at getting up? I have Rocks here. I have nothing here, but it's a short game. Nothing here, but I think they defogged. I think they got... But defog Salamence came, which is, you know, a win in my books. In this game I got Rocks up, Spike up. This game is the only game I lost. I went I went 7-1 in regular season. And this game, and the hazards didn't go off in this game. You know why? Because I accidentally pickpocketed a assault vest, and my rocker could no longer click rocks. So I learned a very valuable lesson this week. So I don't think I bring rocks. I brought rocks into Cinderace, but you'll see if I have a spike and rocks up, T-spike up. That's like Gligar. A Mudsdale couldn't do that. A Sandaconda couldn't do that. Only Gligar could. I think I did bring rocks this time, and into this team I brought 3 laser spikes. So I was pretty clear with what my win or what my what my game plan was most weeks, which was just get hazards up and play the game until one of my insane top tier cleaners and win set of cons just open up and get that one turn we need. So I think I've rambled quite a lot about my team. I've kind of previewed some of the games. I'm trying to think if there's anything insanely cool. I think this. What happened? I taunted with Palafin, got some chip with Cornerstone and Zapdos. I've kind of revealed a bit of the team. But here we'll see that I brought Terra Flying Como, which is not a, not a flying type, not a coverage move it usually gets, but oh, I had stopped expecting it to be Water Absorb. But a Terrifying Como has come in on a Medicham, which has clicked Rock Slide. So my opponent, I think, prepares to play around Scarf, Terra Blast. Exactly this way, where Como just got a free turn and the game ended. And if they didn't give Como that free turn and the game didn't end there, Palafin would come in and revenge it with a Jet Punch or something like that. Like, I showed this end game kind of. It's a very difficult matchup, I think, because it was one of the few Water Absorbers which Palafin couldn't beat. We'll see that. Here, a full Fizz Death Rocky Helmet Quagsire came, which I beat with Zapdos anyways, but I had Grass Knot, which 2-hit KO'd it. Even though I was Scarfed, Adamant, I'm pretty sure. Here, Clodsire came, but I can just Ice Punch it. This team was actually tailor built to lose to Palafin. It's insane. This game I lost. Heartbreaking. I'm trying to see if there's anything interesting here. This game was just a very cool game where Cornerstone just got to it makes you wonder why my opponents didn't bring more hazards into me to break Sturdy and to abuse the fact that I didn't have a lot of hazard removal. I only had 2 Defoggers, but my team was so fast paced that it was difficult to get the free turns to HP Heatran kind of indicating it probably has Stomping Tantrum. But I think it backs up because one, even if they're not scared of Stomping Tantrum, I have Sturdy in case I'm wrong, and I get to Stomping Win next turn. Or I just got to play differently because of Sturdy. This entire I scout for Scarf. And I don't think I ever said it in chat, but they said it in Discord afterwards. From their perspective, they just spent the entire time just wanting to break Sturdy because otherwise their end game just became so difficult. Yeah, I think this Raging Bolt did have Calm Mind, but it just never clicked it because first of all I threatened Encore and I had other things. So many times to ever break this Ogerpon with Thunderclap. And even if it didn't, I had Sturdy. Oh, sorry, I think Mike probably picked it up. Playoffs, I had a rematch with this electric team, actually. And they prepared for me a bit better with Mental Herb on Raging Bolt, so they didn't have to be so scared of the Encore and Tinkerton. But they dropped Mantine in the process, so Palafin became better. This team was, yeah, brought rocks this time. This team was one of us. It's gonna look bad for but this actually happened to several teams. The first time I played Biden Brain is one of the few times I pulled the trigger on Terra Cornerstone. So I was convinced Tapu Bulu was full Fizz Death with Rocky Helmet for Palafin. So I pulled the trigger on Terra Rock to actually guarantee the Oko. Now, I did get Palafin burn, so it didn't actually open up that shit more, but in theory it opened up a lot more if I played better. And then Grand Finals was something, man. Grand Finals was maybe the single worst matchup I've had all season. You'll see that a lot of these teams have Water Absorb. Mostly because there was a Palafin Zapdos team forming and a very clear other Rain team forming. So I think lots of people saw these mons and started deciding they need their Water and Rain counterplay. Only one of the teams fully committed to Rain, but I got caught in the crossfire. But this team has 2 Water Absorbers. That's more than most teams. Into my Palafin team. And in general, my ground type is a Gligar. There are definitely weaknesses to my team, obviously. I think one of the big weaknesses is my ground type is a Gligar. So if your team has some good electric types, or just electric type with like good coverage, or just multiple electric types, you can eventually overpressure my singular Gligar and beat my team, which is why I think my two most difficult matchups the entire season was the electric terrain team and the electric terrain team I had to rematch. And I think this team, because there's an Arcaladon who can Terra with Electro Shot, it can set up on Gligar. It can keep clicking Electro Shot on Gligar. It can just keep setting up, and eventually if it ever gets bored, click Draco or Dragon Pulse or whatever. And the rest of my team just cannot take it. Tinkerton, if it's Terra Electric, can't even like slow it down with T-Wave. Knocking it off only boosts its stamina, so it's more difficult to revenge. I can't Encore it into anything annoying because, again, I Encore into Electro Shot. Gligar comes in, deals 20% to it with EQ. It gets +1 stamina. I do even less damage the next time. Like, if you had a very strong and like good, or just in general a game plan around your electric type, I think this team kind of struggled a lot. with taking that hit. Especially against Archie. I think the team had the Rain team had some other bright points which I struggled with. Mega Sizzle kind of keeps Cornerstone in check forever. Waterpon I didn't have a single Waterpon switching. The whole thing about my team being able to go the mid distance kind of falls apart when you are an insane wall breaker like not Cornerstone, like Waterpon. Same with something like Mawile. My team actually struggled with Mawile, swapping into Mawile a lot, which is why Delphox came into both of the Delphox came both of these weeks, and I had like Will-O-Wisp, Darkrai and stuff just because I thought Mawile could swap in very easily and be very offensive. So I just wanted my fire type actually into this matchup and just burning it and whatnot. Like, my team struggled with actual insane, like very good wall breakers unless my natural typing helped me. I just think my offense was so good I could usually beat it or revenge it at least afterwards with, you know, Palafin or something like that. But Arcralodon is not something you can just revenge. But thankfully for me, Arcralodon can Rocky Helmet defensive, so hallelujah. But yeah, I'll probably start wrapping things up. I've rambled so much. Shoutouts to everybody in ODL, all my opponents, all the admins, everybody. Not only all the other people in the league, because I didn't get to play every single person in Gold Division. Shoutouts to everybody who helped me team build all season. I'd bounce ideas off of a lot of people, and week 1 I ran some mock games just to get a feel of my team, and it probably helped a lot, so thanks for that, guys. Shoutouts to anybody who's watched this far in the video. Honestly, it's been God knows how long of me rambling about games you've probably not even seen, so like, yo, you're a real one. But I love this team. I might unironically like commission art of it. Palafin has become an MVP and a favourite of mine. Same with Darkrai, same with Cornerstone, same with Como, Tinkerton. Gained a huge appreciation for Gligar, mostly because it just did its job so perfectly. It came into the 2 electric terrain. It came into the electric team's electric terrain matchup twice. Did its job perfectly. Came into this matchup, got up rocks, taunted the Orthworm and stuff. Came this week as well. Defogged did its thing. Where else did it come? I don't think it came that often after this. Yeah, no, it just came again into the electric terrain. And I could not bring it into the rain team because it is a rain team. So, but I've gained a huge appreciation for this Gligar. And I think my drafting philosophy as a whole is kind of shifting. I used to love getting lots of mid guys who I thought were value, and getting a 13 pointer who I think in reality should have been a 14 pointer. But in this team, I just really come to appreciate the consistency and strength of my 19-point Palafin and my 19-point Darkrai, enabling not only each other but also the rest of my teams. And having something so consistent at the top just meant that my 14-point Como and 16-point Cornerstone, although not, you know, bad mons, just let them just do so many different things because I had something so consistent and so strong at the top. And even then, I talked about earlier how they're flexible. Palafin was set up as well, yeah. Anyways, I love these mons. Might get a little Palafin plush or something. This guy was definitely my mascot. Maybe not my MVP. My MVP probably Como or Darkrai. Should be Darkrai because it literally came every week, but lots of MVP candidates, lots of favorite mon candidates on this team. If you ever want a solid draft, recommend this team. Just like cut off the Delphox Mucking Electrode and just randomize it, and you'll have a good time. Thank you guys again for watching. shout out to anyone who's made it this far, and see you around.